my channel. If you are new here, my name is Genevieve and I have been doing contortion in and out of class for about 6 years now. Today I wanted to share an updated contortion stretching routine. I'm also going to be sharing at the end of this video just quickly some of the equipment and things that I use just in case you are looking for things to further your own training. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before I get started with any stretching, I always like to do just a bunch of different cardio exercises, high knees, butt kicks, jumping jacks, burpees, whatever I am in the mood for, just like easy, light cardio. I basically just put on whatever song I'm loving and I just jump around until it ends. So you're usually doing about like 4 minutes or so of cardio. Then I'm just starting with some simple side stretches, just opening up my shoulders, getting into it. I need you here, I'm feeling out of place. My heart is yours, I'm giving. And because I have really tight hamstrings, I always start with some of these rocks. I usually do about 10 to 20, however many I feel like I need. You're everything I ever need and more. So let's flesh attend to flesh, come alive. The earth is crying sweet. And then I start with these reach throughs or pulses, and again, this is just great for working my hamstrings up to doing the other stretches that I have because it definitely gets a lot more intense. And for these, I usually do about 10. And then I end it with a hold and some plies. I usually do about 4 to 5 plies just until my hips feel a little bit more open and I can get further through my legs. I then follow that up with some side stretches, just grabbing onto one ankle, and I also like to sit into the hip of the leg that I'm holding onto. This just helps increase the stretch a little bit, and then I will switch to the other side and do the same. And again, another easier stretch, I go into a wide second position plie and I just push on either knee just to open up my hips. And then I go into a half straddle stretch. For this stretch, you really want to make sure that your heel is in line with your knee just to protect your knee and make sure that you don't get injured. So now moving into just some quad and hip flexor stretches, starting off with a basic lunge. And in this exercise, make sure that you are keeping your knee straight so that you can really work into that hip flexor. And then I just reach back and grab that ankle to deepen the stretch. But our mind is in the past. Not knowing what we'll lose. Don't know what will last. And then I sit back into this half split. This is again incredible for working your hamstrings. I especially feel this really intensely when I have a flexed foot and I'm reaching as far forward as I can. Total peace as the pain begins to ease. And then I repeat all of that on the other side, starting off with the lunge. Not often we can see the value that we gain. Now listen, little one, the wounds will heal in time. I know it weighs a ton. And then lowering that knee and reaching to grab that back ankle for a deeper stretch. In this stretch, you can also lower down onto your elbow if that helps increase the stretch for you. You'll be fine. pushing back into that half split. I also want to mention that in this stretch, it's really important to keep your hips square. Basically, imagine that you have headlights on your hips and you want them both to be pointing in the same direction, which should be straight in front of you.
We can see the beauty in the pain. Not often we
Now we're going to be moving into a deeper stretch for our hip flexor. So basically you're just going to grab a yoga block, or if you don't have yoga blocks, you could use a pillow as long as it's a bit more firm. And you're going to go into this bent lunge position, really thinking about keeping your chest up and pulling your belly button in towards your spine. This is such a deep stretch. I promise it's going to hurt, but you're going to love it. And then we're gonna do the same kind of half split position. I also like to end this stretch with a little bit of a cross stretch, just reaching over that opposite leg.
looking back at the good times before it all.
And of course, then we're going to repeat all of that on the other side, starting with our lunge. And I also want to mention that in this stretch, it is sometimes normal to experience some knee pain. And if that is the case, I recommend playing around with the angle of your knee, either moving more forward on the block, more backwards on the block, sitting your hips forward more, that sort of thing. Just play around until you are no longer in pain. I also could recommend that you add a softer pillow underneath your knee just to take some of that pain away. And moving into that half split. And then ending with our cross stretch.
A broken trust got you haunted. The doubting you was enough.
Now that we have stretched out our hamstrings, our hip flexors, and our quads, we're going to move back into some hip stretches. Starting off with this other cross stretch, you're just going to fold one leg over the other, making sure that your ankles and your knees are stacked, and we're just going to reach forward, and feel free to not go as far or feel free to go farther depending on your flexibility. Just listen to your body. And then switching to the other side.
We could be, yeah. Oh, what a hopeless place that we're in. But I'm your liability. I know you are my liability.
Okay, so now we're gonna move into some of the more fun stuff, starting off with our splits. So I'm just starting off with a pancake stretch, which I like to add blocks under my heels just to make it a bit more intense, but a pancake stretch is similar to a center split, except you're keeping your sit bones on the ground. You're not rotating over on top of your hips. So basically you're kind of just staying seated, and I'm just reaching forward and just holding this for about a minute.
Oh, what a hopeless place that we're in. But I'm your liability.
I also like to add in some side reaches, just stretching over and grabbing one ankle to really stretch out that side. This one is also really great for working on side leg holds, and actually all leg holds for that matter, kind of getting your body used to being in that position.
It's worse than lonely, 'cause someone tell me they
And of course, doing the other side as well.
'cause I got doubts, I got doubts, I got doubts, yeah. Sometimes I wanna risk it all since you left me. Struggle, baby, I see pain, 'cause I got nothing. 'Cause someone tell me they see good in me, there's good in me.
Once I'm feeling good, I will then push forward and roll into a center split. Again, I have blocks under my feet just to make it more of an oversplit. I feel like because of the hips that I have, just my bone structure, I can struggle to get flat unless I have that extra height. So this is just what works for me, but obviously adding blocks is completely optional. I also know this looks really crazy. And then after, I will do my right and left side split. Again, I like to do oversplits. It's totally optional, but even if you're not flat, I do encourage you to add some extra height into your split just because it's gonna help you get a much better stretch, and you're actually going to end up getting your splits a lot faster. This kind of adds more pressure, more gravity is kind of pulling you down.
There's good in me, 'cause I got doubts, I got doubts, I got doubts, yeah.
I also want to take this time just to talk about intuitive stretching. I want to encourage you guys to really just listen to your body in a stretch. Hold it for however long you feel like your body needs to relax into it. I feel like so often we're told, hold this stretch for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, however it may be, but really just listen to your body, because in my experience, I've found that less is more. 1 minute for me is perfect. I don't feel the need to push past that, and I actually get a lot more results from holding a stretch for only around a minute. So this is just your reminder to listen to your body.
Anymore. Tell me there's good in me.
And now we're gonna start moving into backs. I always start with rolling out my spine with a peanut roller. This thing cracks my back so well. And this is obviously totally personal. I like to get all the cracks out of my body. This, again, this part I don't necessarily recommend, but it's something that I kind of have to do before I stretch my back. But anyway, I am doing a shoulder stretch. If you want to see my full shoulder routine, then you can check out that video. I'll put it up in the eye. But I've also added a band just for a little bit of elbow support, which I feel like is really helpful. And then I'm doing a shoulder stretch sequence, starting with this kind of 90-degree stretch with my elbows on yoga blocks. In this stretch, I like to keep my core really, really engaged, so then you're not arching your back, just to protect your spine a little bit.
Tell me now, tell me something.
And then I bring my palms to my shoulder blades, and this is really great for stretching out your triceps.
Hear me out, like I make you do the craziest things. Yeah. I didn't mean to hurt you, babe. Oh no.
And because I am going to be doing some chest stands later, I'm stretching out my neck as well. This is amazing for working on your neck and upper back flexibility.
Too naive, but I'm choosing to.
This one you only really want to do for about 10 to 20 seconds. I really do not suggest holding it for longer.
Can we find love? Can we go back to where we were? Oh,
And And now we're gonna do some cobra stretches. I also add yoga blocks under my hands because in my experience, once I gained a bit more back flexibility, I was no longer really feeling the cobra stretch. So adding the extra height under my hands, it just gives me a little bit more to push off of. I usually just do about 4 cobra stretches holding at the top, and then we're gonna do some rotating or like side cobras, circle cobras. I don't know, honestly I'm struggling so hard with naming these things, but I'm just circling to the right and then circling to the left. I usually do about 2 to 3 on each side. Before going into a fold-up position or toes to head position. I will admit this one has never been my strong suit, but you always gotta work on the things that you're not great at. That is the only way to get better. After stretching out in a child's pose, I'm gonna start doing some bridges, some circle bridges. I also have a weird elbow situation. I don't really know how to explain it, but my elbows look bent. I promise you they're not. So that is why I have the band on my elbows. This is just to kind of help correct my elbow issue. But if you don't have weird elbows, feel free to not use the band. But anyway, I'm just doing some circle bridges, warming up my back. This is just always what I start with. Once my back is feeling a little bit more bendy, I move down into an elbow bridge and I just do about 10 to 15 rocks, however many I'm feeling that day. And this is really great for helping with the alignment of your shoulders and upper back in your bridges. So I highly recommend doing this one a lot. I also like to do this kind of crossed arm elbow bridge. It's a little bit tricky to get into. You can see I'm kind of struggling here, but this one is really great for stretching your shoulders. I feel like this one just gets in so much deeper. And then I start warming up my chest stands. So for this, I always just do some basic chest rolls. I don't force my feet to the ground or anything. I just kind of relax into the chest stand and I kind of just let whatever happens. I am keeping my core engaged in this exercise. I am pushing up into my shoulders so that I'm creating a bit more space to breathe. And I usually do about 10 total chest rolls. And once I've done a bunch of chest rolls, then I start doing some press-ups just to make sure I'm maintaining this skill. It's a little bit harder, so I like to just make sure I am staying consistent with it. And then it is time to work on skills. I usually pick about 2 to 3 skills to really focus on in a training session, and I feel like this is the perfect system for getting those progressions.
Okay, so now that I am all sweaty and really in need of a shower, I wanted to also show you guys and kind of talk through some of the equipment that I use in my training. Obviously, starting with my yoga mat, you need a yoga mat. If you're going to be doing contortion, it makes things so much more comfortable, especially for things like chest stands and when you're like on your elbows. Having a little bit of extra cushion really helps. I don't recommend getting one of the super thick yoga mats. Those ones I feel like are a little bit too foamy and like you can kind of sink into them a bit too much. Something kind of like this works really well. And of course, another super basic one I always use at yoga blocks. These ones are pretty self-explanatory. Things like oversplits, shoulder stretches, all the things that you saw me use them for in this video. And then I just have an assortment of resistance bands. These are really great for conditioning, but also for like elbow support, which you saw me do today. I typically use this one, which is the medium strength, just because I feel like it's the right amount of support for me. And then for some things I will use these like silicone kind of, no, rubber resistance bands. I don't know, whatever these are made of. These ones I honestly don't love because they can roll. So if you're gonna get one or the other, definitely go for the fabric ones. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're so much better. I love these things. And then you saw me use this little peanut roller. If you are someone that deals with back pain, get one of these. These things are so helpful. I actually injured my back like 4 or 5 years ago, and this thing was literally my holy grail. It saved my back. I like having a light set of ankle weights. I'm pretty sure these ones are 5-pound ankle weights, I want to say. These ones I feel like are super great. You can also get lighter ones or heavier ones depending on your strength. And then my big weights. These I use for my workouts. I feel like something that is so often overlooked in the like online contortion world is conditioning and strength training. Whenever you're building up your flexibility a lot, you have to make sure that you are also balancing that out with strength training. What can happen if you're not doing enough strength training is that you can actually get too much flexibility, and then your body's not really prepared to support you in that flexibility, and then you can get injured. You just gotta make sure that you're training smart more than anything. Anyway, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you got some information out of this, and if you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. You can also tick the bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. Here's my Instagram if you would like to see more content from me, and until next time, I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!